Okay, so now we will be continuing the significant developments in the policing system in the international setting, especially in England. So yung last period na yon ay itong modern period. So, during the modern period in England, the following policing systems were practiced. First is in 1633, during the time of King Charles II. So he passed a law that provided for the employment of night watchmen or bellmen to be on duty from from sunset to sunrise. And then this night watchmen or bellmen were known as rattle watch. As in literal na rattle, yung may hawak na rattle. Ayun na nga. Because they carried rattles while on duty to inform the public of their watchful presence. So habang nagpapatrol sila doon sa community nila, ay pinapatunog nila yung rattle. O syempre, kapag narinig mo na yung rattle na yun, alam mo na dumadaan na sila doon. Kumbaga, nai-inform sila na may mga pulis dito. Kaya, ang maiisip nila, hindi sila pwede gumawa ng hindi maganda o hindi sila pwede gumawa ng krimen. Kasi nga, nandoon yung mga night watchmen or bellmen. Okay, next is Henry Fielding naman. In 1748, he became the chief magistrate at Bow Street in London. He organized a group of men known as the Bow Street Runners, also known as thief catchers. Nanguhuli ng magnanakaw, yun na yun. He later formed the Bow Street Horse Patrol, whose duty was to patrol the main roads, thereby securing travelers from highway bandits. So, etong mga Bow Street Runners ay nanghuhuli ng mga magnanakaw. And then, nagkaroon din nitong Bow Street Horse Patrol. Obvious naman kung anong meron doon. Siyempre, nakakabayo. Yung mga matatawag nating pulis during that time. Nakakabayo sila. At ang pinapatrol naman nila ay yung mga main road. Kasi sa mga main road, nandoon, of course, dumadaan ang mga travelers. At yung mga travelers na yon ay prone to become victims of highway robbery. Kaya, kumbaga, yung original na trabaho ng Bow Street Runners ay siya pa ring trabaho nung nandoon na sa Bow Street Horse Patrol. Ang kaibahan lang, hindi na sila tumatakbo, nakasakay na sila sa kabayo. At yun nga, ang assignment nila, nandoon na sila sa highway. Okay, next is William Pitt in 1785. He presented a bill in the British Parliament calling for the creation of a police force in London. This proposal met with instant opposition. Kinalaban itong proposal na ito. Pitt argued that this new force would be responsible for the apprehension of criminals and crime prevention that would be the formal continuation of the mandate of the Bow Street Runners. Kasi nga, ang nauna talaga itong Bow Street Runners. After considerable opposition to the proposed police force for London and charges that it would be used to strengthen the very centralist authoritarian government, William Pitt's bill was withdrawn. Ayun. So, hindi natuloy yung bill na gusto niya. Then we have Sir Robert Peale. In 1829, Sir Robert Peale introduced the Metropolitan Act, which was passed by the Parliament of England. The enactment of the said law led to the creation of the Metropolitan Police Force in London, which was viewed as the world's first organized uniformed police force. Kumbaga, may nakatalaga na talagang police. Separate na ito sa military. At hindi na ito tagahuli na lang ng mga magnanakaw, mga highway robbers. At kumbaga, yun na nga, formal na silang police. May uniform na sila and all. This force was later later on named as the Scotland Yard. Okay. So, yan na ang alamat ng pulis. Being the originator of the first head of such police organization, Sir Robert Peale has earned the title Father of Modern Policing System. Kasi nga, siya yung pinaka nakaisip ng pagtatalaga ng isang police force. The important plan of Sir Robert Peale was the separation of policing and the judiciary. Dati kasi 'di ba magkasama, kung maalala niyo yung topic natin last time, iisa lang ang nag-i-impose ng judgment, pati ng kung gaano siya katagal or kung ano yung magiging punishment ng isang tao. Pati nga yung pagpupulis sa kanila. But dito, sinasabi dyan, it will be separated. He believed that the authority of the police shall be only up to the prosecution of crimes, which is also applied here. The trial of crimes must be left to the hands of another agency of the government, which is the judiciary. So, the said plan of Sir Robert Peale was adopted at present in the Philippines. Kaya nga, sa ating criminal justice system, nakahiwalay ang police, then the prosecution, then the court, and then the corrections, and then the community. Magkakahiwalay sila ng trabaho. So, ito na nga, nabanggit ko. These pillars are separate and distinct from each other. Magkakahiwalay sila, magkakaiba sila ng mga personnel, magkakaiba sila ng mga trabaho. But they are helping one another in the administration of justice. Kasi isa lang naman, ang ultimate goal ng lahat ng pillars na yan is to render justice. So there are 9 principles of Sir Robert Peale for his police force, comparing it with the Philippine policing system at present. Ito yung mga yon. Number 1, to prevent crimes and disorders as an alternative to their repression by military force and by severity of legal punishment. So take note, by the express provision of the law in the Philippines at present, the Philippine National Police adopted this principle. The Department of Interior and Local Government, or DILG, is where the Philippine National Police belongs. Baka naririnig nyo na yung Tri-Bureau. Yung Tri-Bureau na yon, 3 bureau, ay under ng DILG. These are the PNP, BFP, Bureau of Fire Protection, and BJMP, Bureau of Jail Management and Penology. Yun yung Tri-Bureau na under ng DILG. So this, the PNP shall be relieved of the primary responsibility on matters involving the suppression of insurgency and other threats to national security. Bakit? Sino na ang in charge? Kasi ang sabi dyan, they shall be relieved. Aalisin na sa kanila yon. Now, it is mainly the task of the AFP, Armed Forces of the Philippines. Yung military na lang ang may responsibility sa mga ganyang bagay. Insurgency, and serious threats to national security. However, the Philippine National Police shall, through information gathering and performance of its ordinary police functions, support the AFP on matters involving suppression of insurgency, except in cases where the President shall call on the PNP to support the AFP in combat operations. Okay, paliwanag natin ng very, very light. PNP and the military. Parehas silang in charge sa security sa bansa natin. Ang kaibahan, si PNP is in charge of local security. Kung saan lang sila nandoon. So, kung ikaw ay naka-assign sa Angeles, you are in charge of the security in Angeles City. That's your main function. But if you are a military personnel, you are in charge of national security. Ano ba yung mga national threats na yan? Ito nga yung nabanggit na dyan, insurgency. Yung mga terorista, yung mga yan, matter of national security, kaya AFP ang in charge doon or the military. Pero may exception naman. kung yung presidente ng Pilipinas, sinasabi niya na yung PNP dapat tulungan niya ang AFP sa suppression ng insurgency at tumulong sila sa mga combat operations, then tutulong sila. But in regular cases, hindi nila trabaho yun. Hindi yun trabaho ng PNP. Kung makakuha sila ng intelligence during their regular course of action, regular work, then pwede silang magbigay. Pwede silang magbigay ng mga information or intelligence sa ating mga military personnel. Okay, number 2. Na principle ni Sir Robert Peale, to recognize always that the power of the members of police to fulfill their function and duties is dependent on public approval of their existence, actions, and behavior, and on their ability to secure and maintain public respect. So, police officers kasi, police officers are public officials. They are public servants. Okay, ano ibig sabihin nun? They serve the public. Naglilingkod sila sa publiko. Hindi sila ang pinaglilingkuran ng publiko. Ang sabi nga dito, yung function nila, yung mga trabaho nila para magawa nila ng maayos, kailangan nila ng public approval. Kailangan tanggapin sila ng publiko. Kailangan mapanatili nila yung respeto sa kanila ng publiko. Okay. So, to recognize always that to ensure and maintain the respect and approval of the public means also the securing of the willing cooperation of the public in the task of securing observance of laws. So, yung tinutukoy na public respect in number 2, connected dyan sa ating number 3. So, para mapanatili mo yung respect na yon, kailangan maging willing yung public na tulungan yung police. Okay. Bakit? Kasi kung hindi sila willing na tulungan yung police, babalik tayo dun sa number 2. Hindi nila magagawa yung trabaho nila. Okay. Papaano sila makaka-cooperate sa ating mga kapulisan? By securing the observance of laws. Okay. Kailangan, kumbaga, ang pulis at ang mga publiko ay parehas nilang ino-observe ang laws. Yung pulis para, kumbaga, sinisecure niya lang. Nagbibigay emphasis lang siya para magkaroon ng, para sumunod yung mga tao doon nga sa mga batas. Okay. Then, number 4, to recognize always that the extent to which the cooperation of the public can be secured diminishes proportionately the necessity of the use of physical force and compulsion for achieving police objectives. Ano ba yung police objectives? To maintain peace and order. Paano mo mapapanatili ang peace and order? So, kailangan mapasunod mo yung publiko. Mapasunod mo sila in a sense na sumusunod sila sa batas. 'Di ba? Kasi kung hindi na sila sumusunod sa batas, ano na ang gagawin ng pulis? Kailangan na silang arestuhin. Kailangan na nilang magbigay ng, kumbaga, a-action na sila. At may mga pagkakataon na mag-e-exert sila ng some kind of physical force and compulsion. Okay. Pero, this is only applied when it is necessary. Kaya nga dyan, the necessity of the use of physical force. Okay, kasi nga, may mga pagkakataon na hindi nakikipag-cooperate etong public sa police. So, ang ibig sabihin nun, kapag hindi nakikipag-cooperate, hindi sila sumusunod dun sa batas. At syempre, kapag hindi sumusunod, kailangan ay bigyan ng punishment or bigyan ng aksyon. At yung action nga nila is to arrest or, eto nga, to use some kind of physical force. Number 5, to seek and preserve public favor not by pandering to public opinion, but by constantly demonstrating absolutely impartial service to law, in complete independence of policy and without regard to the justice or injustices of the substance of individual laws, by readily offering individual service and friendship to all members of the public without regard to their wealth or social standing, by readily exercising courtesy and friendly good humor, and by readily offering sacrifice in protecting and preserving life. Dapat ang pulis, maganda ang relasyon sa publiko. Okay? Walang mahirap, walang mayaman, walang kamag-anak ng mga big time na tao, walang kamag-anak ng mga businessman, walang kamag-anak ng politiko. Ganun dapat ang pulis. Kasi kung hindi sila, kung magiging bias sila sa pakikitungo nila sa mga tao, paano na lang yung mga halos wala talagang sinasabi sa buhay? 'Di ba? Ibig sabihin, hindi na sila aasikasuhin. Kung ganun ha. Pero hindi naman ganyan. Hindi dapat ganyan ang mga pulis. Kasi nga, kailangan nilang i-preserve ang public favor. Pag sinabing public, lahat yan. Hindi yung isang grupo lang, yung mga mayayaman lang. Hindi ganun. Kailangan lahat. Sabi pa nga dyan, not by pandering to public opinion. O kunwari, sabi ng public opinion ay, dapat arestuhin na yan kasi arestuhin na yung taong yan. Kasi ganito, ganyan. Hindi naman porket sinabi ng publiko ay susundin mo na. Kailangan nga, hindi ka magpapasway sa kahit anong opinyon. Lagi mong susundin yung tama. Kung ano ang sinasabi ng batas. Okay? And ito nga, ang sabi, dapat ang pulis ay handa rin na mag-sacrifice para doon sa mga pinoprotektahan niyang members of the public. Number 6, to maintain at all times a relationship with the public that gives reality to the historic tradition that the police are the public and the public are the police. Anong ibig sabihin nun? The police being only members of the public who are paid to give full-time attention to duties which are incumbent on every citizen in the interest of the community, welfare, and existence. Okay, sabi dyan, the police are the public and that the public are the police. The police are also members of the public. At yung public ay police din. Nagpupulis din sila. Hindi ko ibig sabihin na nag-uniform din ang publiko ha, ng pampulis. Kumbaga, sila mismo ay nakabantay sa mga nangyayari sa surroundings nila. Kaya the public are also the police. So, papaano mo itatranslate yon sa trabaho? So, to have an efficient coordination between the law enforcement and the public, the Police Community Relations Office of the PNP was established. Ito na yung PCR. The Police Community Relations is defined as the sum total of dealings of the police with the people it serves and whose goodwill and cooperation it craves for to ensure the greatest possible efficiency in public service. So, para mas ma-maximize yung also power of the public na matulungan nyo ang isa't isa, na magkaroon kayo ng magandang relasyon, then the PNP has now the PCR office, Police Community Relations Office. Okay, to further develop a closer interaction between the community and the police in handling peace and order problems, the National Police Commission prescribed guidelines for the annual nationwide observance of the Police Community Relations Month. Okay? Uh, so this is in the month of January. Yung Police Community Relations Month is held during January. Number 7, to use physical force only when the persuasion, advice, and warning So number 7, to use physical force only when the persuasion, advice, and warning is found to be insufficient to obtain public cooperation to an extent necessary to secure observance of law or to restore order, and to use only the minimum degree of physical force which is necessary on any particular occasion for achieving a police objective. Okay, so take note. By the express provision of the Rules of Court of the Philippines, no violence or unnecessary force shall be used in making an arrest. So the person arrested shall not be subject to a greater restraint than is necessary for his detention. Oo, kailangan o trabaho ng pulis ang mag-aresto. Pero hindi naman tama na kaladkarin mo yung tao, 'di ba? Yung wala namang yung katulad ng nakasulat diyan, walang unnecessary force. So ano lang dapat, yung necessary, yung kailangan lang, hindi yung sobra-sobra. Okay. So, the police operational procedure also mandates every PNP personnel to observe maximum tolerance. Anong ibig sabihin ng maximum tolerance? It is defined as the highest degree of restraint that the police, military, and other peacekeeping authorities shall observe during a public assembly or in the dispersal of the same. Kasi may mga pagkakataon na kakailanganin ng force ng pulis. Pero ang laging sinasabi, baka naririnig niyo yan sa mga balita, is to apply maximum tolerance. Ibig sabihin, hanggat maaari, hanggat kaya na hindi masaktan yung mga members ng public during a certain event, that's called maximum tolerance. Pero kung sila na yung, kunyari, binabaril na kayo, o syempre, papalag ka na, di ba? Alangan namang, saluhin mo yung bala. Superman ka, girl. Hindi pwede yun, di ba? Pero yun nga ang ibig sabihin ng maximum tolerance. Hanggat kaya, hanggat maaari, hindi mo sila papatulan. Yun. Number 8, to recognize always the need for strict adherence to police executive functions and to refrain from even seeming to usurp the powers of the judiciary or avenging individuals of the state and of authoritatively judging guilt and punishing the guilty. Ang sinasabi dyan, ang pulis dapat manatili lang sa trabaho nila. 'Di ba? Merong tatlong branches ang government, the executive, legislative, and the judiciary. Members of the Philippine National Police are part of the executive branch. Tagapagpatupad sila ng batas. They enforce laws. Kaya, ang sinasabi dito sa number 8, kailangan ang pulis manatili lang dun sa trabaho nila, dun sa executive functions. Hindi sila dapat mag-judge at hindi sila dapat gumawa ng sarili nilang batas kasi hindi na nila trabaho yun. Okay, may ibang tao na responsible sa mga paggawa nun. So, kung ikaw ang pulis, ang trabaho mo mag-aresto, magsagawa ng investigation, yun lang ang gagawin mo. Okay. So, the government of the Philippines at present is consisted of 3 branches. Ito na nga. Namely, the executive that executes the laws, tagapagpatupad ng batas. The legislative that makes laws, nagawa ng batas. And the judiciary that interprets laws. Pinaliliwanag niya kung ano ba yung ibig sabihin ng ginawang batas nung nasa legislative branch. Each is independent from others. In other words, no one of them must encroach the powers of other branches. Dapat hindi makikialam si judiciary sa trabaho ng mga senador. At hindi rin makikialam si senador o yung mga congressmen sa pagkakondak ng arrest. Kasi nga, they are separate. They do not encroach with the powers of other branches. So, the PNP is in the executive branch. Number 9, to recognize always that the test of police efficiency is the absence of crime and disorder and not the visibility of police action in dealing with them. So take note, the Philippines at present adheres with the modern concept of policing system. Under the modern concept, the public look at policemen as more effective in the absence of crime because police functions are not limited in arresting offenders or to other matters dealing with offenders. Police functions at present include public service. Okay. Hindi porket madaming naaresto, effective ang pulis. Yun yung modern concept. Hindi ganun ha. Hindi porket madaming naaresto, effective. Dahil doon sa concept na yan, pag halos wala ka ng maaresto, ibig sabihin, effective ka. Bakit? Kasi walang gumagawa ng krimen. Diba? Kung wala kang naaresto, walang krimen na nangyayari. Kung madami kang naaresto, madaming krimen ang nangyari. Diba? So, ganun. Kaya nga, pag hindi masyadong mataas ang crime rate, ibig sabihin, efficient ang pulis. Okay. So, next is the significant developments in the American police system. So, in Boston, Massachusetts, in 1638, the Night Watch was initiated. Then, in New York, in 1658, the organization of Rattle Watch. Then, in Philadelphia, in 1700, the start of Night Watch. And then, in New Haven, Connecticut, 1722, introduction of a police regulation that no watchman has the liberty to sleep. And then in New York City, 1856, adoption of full police uniform. And in Texas, in 1835, the organization of the Texas Rangers. In Massachusetts, in 1865, the organization of the state constables. And then in Pennsylvania, the introduction of Pennsylvania State Police. So take note that the American policing system followed the model developed in England, as for instance, the New York, Boston, and Philadelphia organized night watchmen, which was similar to the bellmen created in London during the reign of King Charles II. These night watchmen were also called rattle watch because they carried rattles while on duty to inform the public of their watchful presence. So, sabi nga natin kanina pa, ang nauna talaga is the England sa kanilang policing system. And then, America followed. Okay. So, in the United States, significant developments in American police system. So, tapos na tayo sa England. In the United States at present, the law enforcement officers who have taken an oath to support the Constitution of the United States, their state, and the laws of their agency's jurisdiction are known as sworn law enforcement officers. These officers have the authority to make arrests and carry firearms, and they are classified as follows. First is state or federal state special agents or inspectors. So state or federal special agents or inspectors perform their duties in different ways depending on the size and type of their organization. In most jurisdictions, they are expected to exercise authority when necessary, whether on or off duty. Okay. So, eto, yung mga pulis na nasa state. Kasi 'di ba United States. So madami siyang states. Ito yung police sa bawat state. Most of them are assigned to special jurisdiction police agencies to perform special geographic jurisdictions and enforcement responsibilities. Public college and university police forces, public school district police, and agencies serving transportation systems and facilities are examples of special geographic jurisdiction police agencies. A smaller number of them, on the other hand, are investigators. Okay. Then we also have state police officers. So state police officers are sometimes called state troopers or highway patrol officers. They are charged with arresting criminals and patrolling highways to enforce motor vehicle laws and regulations. They often issue traffic citations to motorists at the scene of accidents, and they may direct traffic, give first aid, and call for emergency equipment. They also write reports used to determine the cause of accidents. They are frequently called upon to provide comprehensive law enforcement services, especially in rural areas or small towns. So the difference with state or federal special agents or inspectors is that etong mga to ay nag-iimbestiga ng iba't ibang uri ng krimen. But here, state police officers or state troopers are usually in charge of traffic. Pag sinabi nating traffic, ito yung maintain ng kaayusan sa flow ng traffic, also in traffic accidents. Kumbaga, lahat ng nangyayari, basta may transportation, merong travel na involved, state police officers ang in charge doon. Then we also have sheriffs and deputy sheriffs. Sheriffs are usually elected to their posts and perform duties similar to those of a local or county police chief, and they enforce the law on the county level. In the Philippines, I think these are considered municipality siguro ito sa atin or cities. Yan. Deputy sheriffs often have law enforcement duties similar security in city and county courts are sometimes called as bailiffs. Sa loob ng korte, meron ding nakatalagang pulis. Pero hindi pulis na galing sa PNP. Dito sa Pilipinas ang tawag nila doon bailiff. States. Okay. Then, county is any of the major units of administrative or geographic subdivisions of certain states in the United States and Great Britain for purposes of local government. It may also be called as shire. Okay? So, yun. Sheriffs ay ine-elect. Then we have detectives. Detectives are plainclothes investigators who gather facts and collect evidence for criminal cases. Some are assigned to interagency task forces to combat specific types of crime. They conduct interviews, examine records, observe activities of suspects, and participate in raids and arrests. Detectives and state and federal agents and inspectors are usually specialized in training in investigating one type of violation, such as homicide or fraud. They are assigned to different cases on a rotating basis and work on them until an arrest and conviction is made or until the case is dropped. Okay. Another is fish and game wardens. They enforce fishing, hunting, and boating laws. They patrol hunting and fishing areas, conduct search and rescue operations, investigate complaints and accidents, and aid in prosecuting court cases. So, medyo related sa environment naman, fishing, hunting, and boating laws ang pinatutupad nila. Siguro sa atin, medyo related siya sa DENR. Ayan. And then we have FBI or the Federal Bureau of Investigation Agents. Narinig nyo na siguro to. They are the government's principal investigators responsible for investigating violations of more than 200 categories of federal law and conducting sensitive national security investigations. Remember, na sa Amerika, they are using federalism. Kaya sila may mga state. Ayan. May police na in charge doon lang sa state nila. For example, may sariling police ang California. Okay. May sariling police ang Nevada. Yung mga yan. Okay. Pero kapag federal law, ibig sabihin applicable sa iba't ibang state, ang in charge na dyan is FBI. Kasi 'di ba, paano kung tumawid lang mula sa border ng dalawang magkatabing state? Sinong hahawak ng kaso? FBI. Okay. So, agents may conduct surveillance, monitor court-authorized wiretaps, examine business records, investigate white-collar crime, or participate in sensitive undercover assignments. The FBI investigates a wide range of criminal activity, including organized crime, public corruption, financial crime, bank robbery, kidnapping, terrorism, espionage, drug trafficking, and cyber crime. Yan yung ilan lang sa mga krimen na ang in charge ay ang FBI. Okay? Okay. So, others to include are the following. DEA. By the way, itong FBI nila, siguro ang katapat dito sa atin is NBI, National Bureau of Investigation. And then, ito na tayo, Drug Enforcement Administration or DEA agents enforce laws and regulations relating to illegal drugs. Sa atin, ito yung PDEA, Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency. Okay. And then U.S. Marshals and Deputy Marshals. They protect the federal courts and ensure the effective operation of the judicial system. Sa atin, wala tayong direktang katapat, pero ang gumagawa ng ganitong trabaho ay ang PNP din. Then, the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosive Agents enforce and investigate violations of federal firearms and explosives laws, as well as federal alcohol and tobacco tax regulations. And then they also have U.S. Border Patrol agents. They protect more than 8,000 miles of international land and water boundaries. Sa atin, madaming in charge sa mga borders, sa border natin. Although, wala tayong separate na agency dedicated for our borders. Kasi 'di ba, archipelago naman tayo. So, wala tayong direktang katabi na bansa. 'Di ba? Yung mga islands ka natin magkakahiwalay eh. Okay, pero merong nagbabantay doon. Coast Guard. Okay? What I mean is that wala tayong specific na katapat ng border patrol agents nila. And then they also have immigration inspectors. They interview and examine people seeking entrance to the United States and its territories. We also have that, yung Bureau of Immigration, yung mga immigration officers natin. Same work sa immigration inspectors. And then they also have customs inspectors. Meron din tayo niyan. Customs officer naman ang tawag natin. So, they enforce laws governing imports and exports by inspecting cargo, baggage, and articles worn or carried by people, vessels, vehicles, trains, and aircraft entering or leaving the United States. So take note, a state in the United States may establish State Bureau of Investigation or SBI, the state's equivalent to the FBI or the Federal Bureau of Investigation. It may also establish State Bureau of Narcotics, the state level counterpart of the DEA or the Drug Enforcement Administration, among others. Okay.